Aka. Want to thank Mrs. Obi. Want to thank Dr. Owo. Want to thank Ms. Akbeneye. Want to thank Mrs. Dozier. Want to thank our moderator, Mrs. Fatai Williams. Want to thank Mrs. Abimbola. I want to thank all of you for understanding. You all will agree with me that it was no intent of ours to lose as much as the time we've lost today. So I want to thank you immensely for that understanding. And to our distinguished delegates, I want to also thank you for coming here for these sessions. We do not take any of these that you've done for granted. It is the unique situation we found ourselves in. There's also the refusal by the villa to allow everybody just drive down to the villa with their own cars, except they were giving certain access stickers or so that would allow them come in. And not having that meant we needed to carry people in buses. So these are some of those logistics reasons that we're here now. So people are still trooping in from the villa. Again, we really, really thank you all for your kind understanding. So it's going to be Women in Energy Roundtable, an experience sharing session. And the organizers have brought together quite an excellent array of female professionals in the industry who would do this experience sharing. They will be sharing with us how they've been able to climb the oil and gas leadership ladder, how they are leading in the space of exploration, for those who are in exploration, and those who are in of course, the number of women in leading positions in the exploration business is gradually and steadily on the rise. PNG, a very good afternoon to you. President, Nigerian Gas Association. Mr. Mokedi, good to see you. So yes, inclusivity, mentorship, leadership development are some of the things that they will be looking at. Industry trends, as we have it today in this new world order of energy, and the role women are playing, and the role they can also play besides what they're doing already. Technical, can I get background music for 2 or 3 minutes or less? I just want to double check the ETA of the honorable. I mean, she has been waiting. It would be unkind for us to just. Madam Gobi, a very good afternoon to you. Good to see you, ma'am. Good to see you. It will be very, what's the word I'm looking for now? For us to just, let me just get her ETA, since she has been waiting since 2 to join us. It's no fault of hers, just as it's no fault of us, our panelists as well, that we are this late in starting this session. Again, most profuse apology. Thank you, Mrs. Nkechobi. I see you. MD Techno Oyo. Thank you so much. Thank you for really understanding and bearing with us. All right? So just give me a moment. Technical, I need some background music while I step up the microphone for just a minute or two, and I'll be back. All right. Just before we, thank you, technical. Just before we get into the business of the session, I would like to just take a few opening comments from the director of events at Brevity Anderson, who is whose baby more like this session is. So I'd like for us to please welcome Dr. Mrs. Blessing N.I.E.S. Please hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and let's give her a warm welcome. She will just talk to us briefly as to the objective of the session, and after that, we'll get the session going. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for honoring our invitation to come. So I suppose this roundtable is conversational. It's about women coming together to share their experiences, to create opportunity for mentorship. Because it's not just about today for us, it's about tomorrow as well. I think we need to get to that stage where women are no longer asking for seats at the table, but women are building their own tables. So that's what this is about. So we're creating our own roundtable, having conversations, and seeing where we go from there. So I do welcome you, and I'm very pleased to see all your faces. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope that this deliberation would be beneficial, and we can create a roadmap from here on what to do next. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Blessing. And Akimio, thank you so much. Okay, so I think what we'll do here now is get the panel started. When the minister arrives, perhaps we will take her comments just before we conclude proceedings with the panel, but she was supposed to open the session. We've kept you waiting for too long. She's on her way. When she gets, I'm sure she's going to meet me before I leave this stage. If she doesn't, we'll listen to her just before we conclude the panel session. So let me quickly invite members of the panel to their seats on the panel. Let me begin by welcoming, I haven't seen her since I walked in here. But just in case she's here, someone is presenting her, and I have not seen her. I'm talking about the Executive Vice President. She was with us at the opening ceremony. Executive Vice President Upstream of the NNPC Limited, Mrs. Orisha Mayua Eyeson. I haven't seen her, but I'm sure when she gets here, we'll get her a seat on the podium. Also on the panel, I'd like to welcome the Managing Director of SNEPCO, Engineer Mrs. Eloho Aibani, FNSE. Please give her a round of applause as she takes her seat on the podium. Thank you very much. Joining Engineer Aibani, I'd like to welcome the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Britannia U Limited. Let's welcome Mrs. Catherine Uju Ifejika. You're welcome to your seat on the podium. Thank you very much. Please give those women a resounding applause. They've been patiently waiting since. That's something we cannot take for granted, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Joining them is Group Managing Director, Techno Oil Limited. Let's welcome Mrs. Nkechi Obi. Joining them is National President, Women in Energy, Oil and Gas. Let's welcome Dr. Oladuni Owo. Where's Dr. Owo? No, she's here. She's here somewhere in the room. Joining them is Chief Legal Officer, Oando PLC. Let's welcome Ms. Efuntomi Akpeneye. You're welcome. Joining them is Vice Chairman, ExxonMobil Nigeria. Let's welcome Mrs. Adeswa Dozie. You're welcome. To drive this session for us, I'd like to welcome the President, Women in Energy Network. Let's welcome Mrs. Ayano Fatai Williams. There's a staircase there, please. Good afternoon, ma'am. You're welcome. Yes. You're welcome. Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And we're delighted to see so many people here after the long day you've had at the villa. So thank you very much for coming by. Good afternoon, ladies on the panel, but this promises to be an interesting and power-packed panel. I think this is a major highlight for the summit, because this is the first time we're doing something like this on the first day of the summit to underscore its importance. I think maybe Richmond or Blessing had introduced that this panel is an opportunity, I think a very rare one, where you have very well accomplished women in the industry who have a right, who have earned their place on the table, very well accomplished professionals, business women, who will be sharing with us their career experience. This is about inspiring the next generation of leadership. And I hope that we will not just inspire the women, but we will inspire some of the men we've seen here to also card some others to create opportunities for women on the table. This is a very, very important topic. It's a major population. I mean, women make up a significant percentage of our country's population. If we have any hope of honestly making it through the energy transition and everything else, it's important to address the gender issues, the gap in the gender gap. These women have earned their place on the table in business, in their careers. So please, as they share their experiences, how they got there, what they did, not rocket science, but you'll hear stories of determination, just hanging in there, being rugged. I hope that you'll be inspired by what they say, and this will become interesting by the questions that we'll ask. So please, I ask that you engage. I refuse to call this the graveyard shift because I'm sure you've all had lunch, but please stay alert. Where you have a group of women together, there will be fireworks. You're going to hear very, very different things. So please, let's engage and let's get the session going. Because we've lost a lot of time, what we will do is I'll go straight into some questions. And as I ask those questions, our ladies on the panel will have an opportunity to introduce themselves, say a bit about what they do, but go straight into answering the questions. So I'm going to start with you, Madam Duni, Dr. Duni Owo, who is here representing a women's network. When I look at Duni, the first thing I must think of is diversity and inclusion. I mean, I can't think of you and the work you've done without diversity and without inclusion. So my question would be, how can organizations, we have associations here, NGA, PETAN, SPE, and we have captains of industry here. Okay, I'm waiting for Richmond to give us a signal whether we should go ahead or if Madam is going to speak, Her Excellency, the Honorable Minister is going to speak now. Okay, thank you. So apologies for that, please, but it just makes it more interesting. So,
Thank you very much, moderator, Mrs. Ayana Fatai Williams, and to members of the panel, thank you so much. We must also thank the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, who, as I told you earlier, has been waiting since 2 p.m. to come join us for this particular session. We're glad that she's here now. So she's going to address us. Madam, when I call you, you move that way to speak. She's going to address us, so once she's done with her address, the panel can then continue with the conversation. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, Barrister Uju Kennedy Ohanenye.
Yes, I'll try to use it. Hello. I don't know the protocols, but I plead with you to stand on the existing protocol. That's usually the quickest way to get rid of all the other hurdles. So please pardon me, I beg, please. How is everyone? I'm seeing some wonderful, heavy women sitting down here today. I was shocked when I came in, especially the lady in the middle, Chief Uju Ifejika, Britannia, you. That's my Oga. So that will tell you that what we're doing today is not a small thing. It's not a joke. When women are in the field of men and they're striving, you can imagine. We're even trying to turn around the women in the villages. Those we call vulnerable, in a short while there will be none like that. And they will start striving, even higher than we can expect. We all know that women are very strong character. We know that. They're very hardworking. Some of them are not very good in grabbing opportunities by themselves. They wait for opportunities to come to their homes, but we are trying to change that style. We want to go out there and grab the opportunities. And they tell me at times, what are you doing concerning making women be part of politics? Just hold on, let me come and breastfeed you so that you come out and become a politician. But I know one of the problems we have here is poverty. By the time we work on poverty and get the women up and doing, majority of them will come out. And when they do, the men will know that we have come. Trust me. I was the only female presidential aspirant. When I was in the mix of the men, I was feeling like a mother hen because I don't allow them go off the line, no matter who you are. If they tell you, hey, mama, they here, don't try. As far as I'm concerned, I'm your mother, all of you. I took charge. And they didn't have a choice than to respect me. And I made sure I don't start playing some dirty politics of stabbing people at the back. You know the normal thing politicians do. I'm not interested in that. And they said again, the women are never together. They don't love one another. It's only but few women that are like that. I never knew I could work with women, but look at me, I'm very comfortable working with women. I've met a whole lot of them, wonderful people, engineers, mechanics. When I mean mechanics, they didn't go to school to learn how to be mechanics, but they are mechanics, striving well and training other women to become mechanics. KK riders, so many professions that you will not imagine. So it made me introduce in my ministry mainly male jobs and bringing in women into the field. I'm interested in the pink riders. Those are the KK riders. Tamper with them and you've looked for my trouble. Because they have to strive. They have to be encouraged. But they say charity begins at home. Before anyone can encourage you, you first encourage yourself. And you first have the determination to come out. So today, the women I'm looking at, that lady, like I keep saying, I don't know if I should call her a man or a woman, but where the men are striving, she's doing so well. She's not the only one. There are other ones that are doing better, but we don't have enough. I encourage women to look into those areas. Before I became a minister, I was into property. There are so just very few women that are successful in property business. I was one of them. You work hard. Let me tell you one thing. Women strive better in the men's world because we're different from them. We're created differently. We have more determination. We know degree. You can't pass out anyhow. Even in this ministerial appointment, watch and see how the women will perform. That doesn't mean one or two people might not make mistakes, but that you shouldn't use that to judge the women. With time, they will judge, and you will find out that the best will end up being the women. We are the power of the world. But we need to come out more. We're starting this sustainable empowerment we're doing in the villages. If you have your village, we're going to share the links with you. Please send it out. Let them register and become one of us. What do? We give them sustainable machines. They come in clusters. We call them cooperatives. But they register in that portal with their account numbers. So that money is meant for women, we go to the women. It's from that portal we will be able to track and monitor things. We have the ones they call Integrity Brigade. Let me tell you something. Most NGOs in this country, nobody gives them money if they don't mention you and your children. Nobody gives them money. So every money every NGO is bringing in is meant for women and children. So now the portal will make them, you must expose that thing you are getting so that we equally will shout it out. I'm a shouting minister. I shout for the world to hear me. And when I'm shouting, I don't care what the media says. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. I shout and I pursue it. Try me. She's just a noisemaker. Try. Try. You know about the woman that destroyed almost a small girl of 9 years? You people are aware of it. It's all over internet. She's a lawyer. Now, are we going to fold our hands? If you call yourself a lawyer, you should learn how to respect yourself. As she did not respect herself, we will teach her how to respect herself. She's bragging because she has bought over police in Anambra State. I'm bringing her here. And when I bring her, all of you will see me with her. I will remand her in prison for a month. We are doing investigation. As long as the investigation goes on, she remains there. Because as we speak, the girl is still in the hospital. Nobody knows if she will survive. It's a bad burn. She sat her down on a burnt gas and then put knife inside the fire and put in her private parts. I don't want you to just scream. I want you to all come out and say no to violence against women. We will not tolerate it again. Which is one of the reasons I'm encouraging us to join the men's league. Go into their profession, like some of these my women have done, and strive there to show them you are a man, woman. But while you're doing that, remember, you are the backbone of your husband. Don't disrespect him. In Igbo land, they said, Onye jiego kwa nne oburo okpala buria. I'm sure Igbo people here understand what I'm saying. If you have money, take care of problems in the family. Don't come out there to work and you say, what a man can do, I can do better. Then when you get to the house, you say, you must give me money, it's your duty. Does it make sense? So when you strive in the men's world, you probably learn to carry some responsibilities that you can according to your pockets. Don't look at anybody so that there will be peace in the home. I'm proud of women, very proud. And I'm proud of my ladies here. I don't want to take much of your time. They gave me a speech. This is my speech. They always give me a speech. They always do that. But I don't like to read speech, because if I read speech, how do we communicate? How do we connect? As I'm speaking to you, we're flowing, are we not? Yeah. If I start reading now, you get bored. So forgive me for not reading the speech. I love you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you very, very much for that very engaging speech. Even if it wasn't read, but very engaging. Thank you very much. And I think in taking a cue from the Honorable Minister, please, Dr. Duni, allow me to start with the lady in the middle. You kept referring to... I need to take a cue from the Honorable Minister. So, Madam, Mrs. Catherine Uju Ifejika, she said so much about you. In a few words, you are in a man's world, you're doing what men do. But one thing is clear, you have networked correctly, you have done whatever it's taken to ensure that you are at the top of the house. So please let me ask if just a question or two. But Madam, will be grateful if you could first introduce yourself and then answer the question. So with what the Honorable Minister has said about you, please, what advice do you have for women who are seeking opportunities in the energy sector? What advice do you have for them? In speaking about this, please talk to us about the importance of networking, mentorship in building a career or building a business, because that obviously something got you there. But please tell us that's something that got you to where you are today.
Okay, thank you very much. I be una no pay nepa bill.
It's not working.
Yes, okay now. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity and for being able to drag me out from the confines of my, business cocoon. My name is Mrs. Uju Catherine Ifejika. I'm the Group CEO of Britannia U Group. I'm a lawyer by profession. I worked for Texaco and Chevron. I was the general counsel for Chevron for Texaco 1991. I was the youngest. I was 31 years then. And 1997, I became the company secretary, public and government affairs manager, the first to hold the 3 positions in one. And by 2001, when Chevron and Texaco merged, my portfolio for public and government affairs covered West Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, Togo, Benin, Ivory Coast, and Congo, while the company secretary was Nigeria, because it was a PLC. And I held on to that position till 2007, when I told them that I was tired, I needed to go. And everybody thought I was crazy, because within that period, for 7 years, I was not giving any promotion, but I was working. Nobody was able to deliver what I delivered to the company. And within that period, even managing the press, managing the government affairs, the company didn't have any issue. But when I left, same month after I left, it's like everything let loose. So when I put in my paper, they said, look, what is it you want? We want to give you executive director position. And I told them, I said, for countries where you go to around the world, I'm the one that booked your appointment. You don't see the minister, you see the president, and the ministers are invited. So I do those things. So if we get there, if you tell them I'm not an executive director, they will not believe you. So I said, I'm leaving. I don't need the directorship position. Then they came back. My MD came back and said, oh, they're giving me position. I should bring my company. Form a company, bring it, and then they will give me a consultancy, 5 years consultancy to handle the government affairs. I told them, I said, no. These are things that people, you see people, they will just jump at it. I told them, I said, no. First, I needed to have time for my family, okay? And then be able to think of what to do, because I saw a lot of opportunities. And because I'm a woman, the things that ordinarily will come to me didn't. But I didn't bother because I'm the only one who can come into the room and harass the men. So if you're a woman, you want to succeed, and you don't have the lever, you better go and then be sleeping in the room. So when I now came out, I joined Britannia U. The Britannia U didn't have anything, they weren't doing anything. 21 years I stayed with them. They gave me 9,062,000, which are naira, not dollar, naira, which I shared out to widows and some people. My husband, I gave him 1 million, I took 1.5. I started Britannia U with 1.5 million, which was $10,000 then. But I'm somebody, if you want to get me excited, tell me that this is not possible. And I'll prove to you that it's possible. Why? Because God said something. He said, I created you in my own image. We go to church, all of you, to mosque, everywhere. That word is very, very deep-rooted. If he created you in his own image, Jesus walked on the sea. He made the blind see, the lame walk. And you, yourself, you're saying, I don't have money. I took that 1.5 million. I went to the bank and I took loan, $23 million. I didn't know anything about upstream. I'd never worked in upstream. Texaco was downstream, trading, petrol station, and then a lawyer. So I'm not even in the marketing. But business is in my DNA. So I took that, got a foreign partner, because they said that for you to operate as a marginal field operator, you must have a technical partner. We had a technical partner. First, it was Petroleum Inc. of Houston. We didn't know that they were just coming into Nigeria to get blocks because they were going bankrupt. They were into GTL. So they sign on with us. The only thing that they did, the time we were signing, they had 2 million barrels only on the field. And they now came back. That's why when you see, as a woman, most of you, the only thing you do is to paint your face. And then you'll be shaking your waist. No. If you want to do business and be successful, put those ones aside. Because when you get where you are, even if you wear trouser, you wear hijab, they will look for you. But when you begin to paint your face, yeah, they will see you. This face is going to old. And when he olds, the only thing that you leave is the mark you leave on the sand of time. So when you now look at what we did, they brought me paper to sign. Nobody in my company will sign any document without passing through my table. I'm a lawyer. You're now almost going to 40 years. I will read it. Kachuku, the Minister of Petroleum, handed over to me in Texaco. So when I read it, I saw where they said 70 million barrels. They were going to stock exchange. So I called them. I said, look, the money you people wanted to give us. They said, why would you? I said, this meeting is ended. If you want it, you double it. So they said, they went outside. They said, me, I carry my bag. I vamoose. The next day, they called me. They said, Madam, okay, come. Let us sign. We sign. They gave me money. $2 million, this time $4 million. I can't go. The bank I collected money from I paid them, the people that, because you see, the greatest thing that we have is having partnership. You don't know who your partners are. It must be people you have the same, mindset with. And then you people, then you gel. But most people, you come in, they don't want to, they don't know anything. Once they see, you go collect money, make we share them. So, I paid everybody, and Honorable Minister, where did they go? No, you better sit down, no. You kept us. No, you don't pick anything, come back. Come back. So, when we now started, they had to pay the money. And we went, they gave us coordinates. We went to drill. They didn't bring any money. They were supposed to bring 40%, which is 8 million. We brought 14 million. The money that we brought, they gave us the coordinate, we went and drilled. It was a dry hole. Dry hole, the $23 million went. Now, most people will just look. They will say, look, this I don't know anything, it's law, I know. People were calling me, even people who were on the other side, Madam, let us pay you off. When they finished, I told them, I said, no. I went back to the bank, because the one thing that you must do for you to go into business, build your reputation. And when you say yes, let it be yes. Most people, they will tell you this, you go and check, it's not a... I went to the bank, the GMD then of the bank, I left all my documents, and he went, made all the investigation made all the investigation in the NUPRC and found out that everything I said was correct. Now, when they now give us, they give us additional 11.4 million. My MD then was an eggshell, 30 years. He said, Madam, we drilled the dry hole, we should leave. I said, you can't leave. If you move that rig, I'll fire you that very day. So, we now called people, they did prognosis on what went wrong, and we found out we went on the opposite direction instead of the right. We now went back 5 days, we struck oil. So, return you that they're talking about today, if I didn't, hold my position that I am not moving anywhere, they would have paid me off, which is what a lot of people, they get oil block. Before you know it, they don't give them 2 million, they collect. And then somebody goes in, the oil block is millions of barrels. No. If you want to go into business and know what you're going to do. If you're looking at somebody to help you, be sincere and be open and ready to learn. You understand? It's not about who you are. If you know who you are, then the waka they go. So when we now did that, we struck oil. The next thing we did, they said, look, let us do pipeline. I told them I don't want to do pipeline. If I do pipeline, every community that we pass, we will pay. I went and did FPSO. It was built in Louisiana. When they built it, it was all over that an African woman broke because Texan men, Louisiana people, I'll go to the yard and I'll harass them. This thing, they did it in 7.5 months. Because of Katrina, they would have done it 4.5 months. This is something people do 1 year to 18 months. 7.5, that's the fastest and the quickest any IOC or indigenous company did. I took delivery and we came back. We built our wellhead platform, connected the flow lines, and then within 17 months, we flow our first oil. Now, within that period, because as you're doing business, you must be looking at opportunities. Every issue that I had in the course of is a learning curve, and it's an opportunity. So what I did was that within that time the rig was $350,000. It was Shell rig. $350,000. So within that period we were waiting, we lost 6.8 million. So I asked them, I said, how much is a vessel? And they told me, we got to US. I got a vessel, $3 million. I lost 6.8 million. Okay, for a price of 2. Immediately I came in, one of the IOCs took the vessel and they rented it for 14,000. 2 years, the money was paid. Now, within that same thing, we were doing loading out from Port Harcourt. And I said, no. Every day you pay $1,000. So, like now, where dollar na abobala. If I know waiting to her, so I went to Warri, got a jetty. Okay, today we have a presidential approval for it. 25 years. That's the biggest jetty owned by an individual. Now, while we're going to Chevron were buying from us from 2010 up to 2016. When you take, they'll tell you that, sorry, please answer this. Answer this call. So, they will tell you that, oh, you brought 50% is water, this one. So, when they checked, I lost almost $5 million. So I told them, I said, look, I'm going to get my own export terminal. And I shut down my operation for 8 months. Today, I have an export terminal. Other people have opportunity to come to our terminal. Okay, we have the largest gross tonnage vessel flying Nigerian flag with large units that cost us about $6.8 million before even they made it mandatory. Okay? So when you're looking at it, today we have everything that we need across the chain. We have the vessel, we have the FPSO, we have FSO, we have the jetty where we'll move from. So now, when you're looking at all this, this is somebody when I got in, they said, look, it's not about wearing nice suit, because even if you catch me dead, you must see me with good suit. From when I was in Texaco. So that one, if you want enter my trouble, say make I know wear better suit. So they said it's not about wearing nice suit. This is serious business. We are giving her 2 months to fizzle out. That is 2007. Today, not only am I here, but those ones where they look me, say that they don't fizzle out. Now me make them, they don't pay me. So, as a woman, I am not only the first female owner-operator, not in Nigeria, not in West Africa, but around the world. Go and check NASDAQ, not Nigeria, where they go pay to get accredited or somebody put in. No, go, this is NASDAQ. Okay? Go and check 6 most powerful women in the oil and gas around the world. I didn't get there. I didn't even know. Somebody called me and said that. But they know because they follow up on a lot of things. So you asked, I gave you this brief history so that you know who Uji Ifejika is. Now, you talked about mentorship. Mentorship is about passing on your knowledge, your skill, your experiences. Okay? But you don't just throw it around. You must pass it on to somebody who is ready. Okay? And who has the mindset. There are people, you see, every individual is created uniquely. You can be a mechanic, but the mechanic that you are, me, I went and did IT, this, your own, even when they start the car, you will know what is wrong with the car without using any technology. So for you to want to do something, you want somebody to mentor you in oil and gas, you must have the mindset that what you're coming to do, you're coming to the lion's den. Are you ready to chop the lion and chop the monkey the way they there. If you're not ready, then there's no need. You're coming. When you say you run, go, let me go and talk to my mom, my dad. No. I've never gone to my dad or my mom. Incidentally, my dad, they were amongst those that worked with the colonial master. My father was a sub-treasurer. Then they didn't have central bank or bank. They had treasury. My father was the head of treasury. So we lived everywhere. But that didn't make, I never went back to them because my mother would tell you, if you're ready to go out, be ready to fight. So anybody that wants mentorship and you're not bold and fearless, don't come near me. Because I don't want the person who will come back. When they slap him, he say, hey, madam, somebody say shut up to me. Somebody, no, I want the person where if they slap you, you go slap 10 times.
Oh my goodness.
Then you go come tell me, say you slap. Then I go say, well done. Oh yeah, make we go.
I think one of the wonderful things Madam has said is that it's all right for us to say mentor people, but are you ready to be mentored? Are you ready to be mentored? The days of trophy women are gone. Are you ready to be mentored? Do you have the mindset for mentorship? She said so many nuggets that I think we can take away from this. One of focus, one of determination. When she said business is in her DNA, I had to check and say, okay, Madam is from the Southeast, so business has to be in her DNA. But she said a lot of important things. Who are your partners? Do you know them? It's not about just money. It's about knowing what to do. This is a story of focus, determination. She obviously knew where she wanted to be. Every difficulty, every challenge is an opportunity to do something different, to get your own jetty, to get your own vessel, to do this or do that. But let me leave that for the questions that will come. Please, let's give a round of applause, Madam. Thank you very much. I think to balance this, I'm going to go to the youngest person on our panel. I'll go to Efuntomi Akpeneye. She has spoken of experience from 2007. I'm not going to ask you where you were in 2007, but you are young and you've already chartered a course for yourself, Chief Legal Officer of Owando PLC, not just a small company. You are the Chief Legal Officer. She has given us a wealth of experience from an older person. I want to ask you, what advice would you give to the young women in this here today who are aspiring to pursue their careers, to do the sort of things we've just heard? What would you advise them to do if they want a career within the energy industry? She's covered the value chain. What's your advice? What sort of experiences and lessons? Talk to the young people here. She did say mindset, determination. Let's hear what advice you have to give them.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity, to inspire. So, as has been said, my name is Tomi Akpeneye. I'm the Chief Legal Officer of Owando. I started my career in Banwa Igodalo, a leading law firm in Nigeria. And, I was there for about 3 years. And then I spent another 4 months in another company before starting at Owando. I started as a legal officer, right at, the entry level. In terms of what I would, how I would advise younger lawyers who want to, venture into the energy industry, the first thing I would really say is that you're first a lawyer before you become an energy lawyer. And your foundation is so key. So my first advice would be start off in a law firm, start off in a good law firm. Being a lawyer, there are rudiments of the legal profession you must learn before you transit into in-house. I mean, legal drafting, advisory, all those basic things that you must learn. I mean, I cringe sometimes when I see, how, some lawyers draft. You must learn the basics before you move in-house. Now, I like acronyms, so I've kind of coined an acronym that I'll use to describe what I would advise, and it's PRAISE, it's P-R-A-I-S-E. And the first one is personal development. It's non-negotiable. You must develop yourself. And you know, the industry is so dynamic, things change every day. But there's so much information out there. I mean, when I started, there was hardly internet, you know, you had to read big books. But now there's so much on the internet. There are podcasts, there are articles, there's so much you can learn on your own. Don't wait for people or for your organization to train you. You know, I always say that one of the first things that get cut is a training budget. So you have to take responsibility to train yourself. I mean, in Owando, what we do is that we have a platform called Owando Academy, where different employees in diverse areas train others. That's another way to do it. So personal development is so key. You can't get away with that. The second thing I would say is, which is the R, is relationships and partnerships. I think Mrs. Ifejika had mentioned that. It's so key. I mean, there comes a time in your career that it's a given that you have talents and you are intelligent. It's a given. So what really takes you to the next level is your relations, the relationships you build, both with your colleagues, especially as an in-house lawyer like myself. You have to build those relationships because it makes the work easier. The relationships you build with other stakeholders outside of, you know, your immediate environment. So just build those relationships and make sure that you're networking, you're reaching out to other people. The third thing I'll say is acumen, basically your business acumen. And, you know, Mrs. Fejika mentioned, you know, words like lacked units and things like that. For lawyers, that might sound like Greek, but to advise your organization, you have to learn the business. I mean, I remember when Owando had the energy services subsidiary where we bought rigs and we were contracting them out. I had to learn, you know, all the terminologies, the blowout preventer, the derrick. I had to learn all that. I'll get the technical people to sit down and say, draw, you know, walk me through how it works from the wellhead to the terminal. You have to learn the business or else you cannot advise. And another thing is that you have to make sure that as a lawyer, you're not just throwing the book at the commercial people. You know, if you do that, you become increasingly irrelevant. You see that you're not being invited to meetings. They will just take decisions and, you know, you're not at the table. So you have to make sure that you're providing solutions that you know, within the legal ambit, but creative solutions that can help achieve corporate objectives. So that's you have to learn the business. You know, you can't negotiate that out. Now I think it's the fourth thing is integrity. You have to have integrity. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. We all know what that means. Now, S is for self-care. Now, we're speaking to younger women, you know, you're probably at the same time as your career is growing, your family is probably going. So there's a lot of pressure on women, you know, young professionals that have families as well. So I would say that you need to take care of yourself. You can't draw water from an empty cistern. Take care of yourself. Make sure that, you know, you are taking care of yourself as well as everything else that needs to be taken care of. And lastly, I think that was the last one. Yeah, lastly is excellence. Excellence in everything you do. I mean, your work must speak for you, you know, for you. And I think I mentioned it, that part of excellence is that your foundation must be right. So if you are starting out your career, please, as much as you can, start off in a law firm and make sure that, you know, you learn the basics. And, you know, when you transit, your work must speak for yourself. You know, you must be excellent. So I think those are the points.
Thank you. At least you've given us something we can't forget. Praise. personal development, relationship, acumen, integrity, self-care, and excellence. Self-care, you can't draw water out of nothing. But she said one important thing: learn the business from wellhead to terminal. Young people, learn the business. There is no shortcut. You heard it from Madam. So let me come back to Dr. Duni, which is where I wanted to start from, but I had to obey the minister. So Dr. Duni, you represent a women's organization, and when we're talking about closing the gender gap, we are at the forefront of doing this, making sure that this happens. So I'd like to zero in on diversity and inclusion in asking you this question. So how can organizations foster diversity and inclusion in the workplace? And maybe you share what initiative the organization has put forward to make this happen, to promote these values. So please, audience, bear with us. I want all the ladies, we run through the ladies, and then you throw out the questions. So Dr. Duni, thank you.
Hello, okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to all the ladies here, wonderful ladies. Thank you very much, moderator. So I'd like to first and foremost start by saying a big thank you to Brevity Anderson and the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources for, at long last, putting this event as a strategic conference session. It's been I won't call it a battle, but it's been something that we've been trying to push for quite a while, like up to 4 or 5 years, because it used to just be a side event. And so we say big thank you, and I'd like everybody to give them a big round of applause, because we know it's going to continue. It's not just going to be the start. We know it's going to continue, and then we see that being the beginning of great things. Now, talking about diversity and inclusion, and using WeOrg as a case study, it's been an interesting journey. We're going to be 6 in May. And I would like to even mention the fact that WeOrg started at an event like this in the US. OTC, and a session called Women in Industry Sharing Experience. So 2017, Hello was there to talk about Bonga, you remember? And, yeah, sorry? Okay, so, and there was also another lady that was also there to talk about almost like what Madam Uju shared with us, how she found oil in a strange land. At least Madam Uju found oil in Nigeria. She found oil in a strange land, and how she used that oil to turn around the destiny, mark that word, destiny of the entire land, the people, the GDP, the economy, and everything. And for me, that was amazing. And so right there and then, of course, you know the way it is when everybody speaks and then people clocked around you to get a bit of you and everything. And she told us, go back to your countries. Go back to your countries and go to make it happen. If you need me, let's see. Well, I used the style that worked for me, and we became very good friends. And we started talking about it. And there and then we called an African women meeting, and we're like, okay, all African women, let's talk. Let's see how we can take this back home, because Africa is in darkness, energy-wise. 70% of African countries, I've gone around a number of African countries, they don't have lights. And my logic to that team that day was the fact that, for instance, my country, Nigeria, we've discovered oil like 50-something years, and we've left the men alone there. I said, it's not good for men to be alone. Everybody laughed. I said, so let's go and help them. Let's get into the business. Let's get to the table. And if they don't give us a space at the table, let's carry our stool and stand on the stool. And then you will even be taller than the table. So everybody laughed. So we had women from South Africa, women from Uganda, different countries, and we started talking, of course, majority from Nigeria, because I am Nigerian. And then we took that decision that we're going to take it back to our country. And that was how we all got battered as an idea in 2017. And then again in 2018, now this particular year, Susan didn't come, I think. Okay, yeah, she still came. Yeah, she still came, but it was more like fireside chats kind of thing and all that. And then we had real time to talk. And then we were like, oh, we just have to take it and make it happen. And that was how we all got parted. Now, how have we fostered diversity and inclusion? When we all started, we were very, very focused as to what we want to achieve. And I knew it wasn't going to be a sprint. So we just have to ensure the foundation is solid. So the very first thing we started was capacity building. So organization might want to look at that. Capacity building, and when I looked around Africa, I could barely see any women in energy, oil and gas group or anything. So I started looking offshore. So I met a group in America, and we started talking. I joined them, I became a member. And from there, I was like, okay, we want to do this in Africa. We want like an African chapter. You guys have done it. So they've done it for 25 years, and they still have 25% women representation. So I'm like, so we started looking at the numbers, you know. So what we first did was I made a call, and I'm like, anybody, any woman that is interested in the industry and wants us to build gender diversity, please come on board. Let's go for a training. We facilitated the training, got sponsorship by Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo sponsored us, and we were so serious. In fact, I was like, you know, I can be a bit of a teacher. I'm actually a teacher by birth, you know. So I'm like, anybody, any Nigerian that is coming here, you must be serious. You get to class early and all that. We sit in front. There were 40 different chambers of commerces and association in that room, sponsored by the US government. And we sat there, and they were teaching us 5 days. And but because they always see that these ladies, they're always in front. They say, wow, we are women in energy, oil and gas from Nigeria. Okay, fine. And they now took us up as a case study. We talked about how we can reach out to the top executive women, the women in the middle class, the women in the grassroots, the girl child, and it was a whole, as in, imagine 40 different chambers and associations then focusing on you by virtue, they used us as a case study, and we designed it. We went back, we had another 3-day retreat, which was our first retreat in 2018, you know, and then we designed how we can implement. And of course, we started making calls. And then because we saw that it was going to be a national roll call, because there's no way you can actually make that happen if you don't involve, if you don't plan for the policy change aspect of things. So we were very, very intentional about government relation, governments linking up with governments and all that. So we did a lot of research. We will meet 7 days. In fact, I remember during the PIB review, 238 pages. We shared it. Oh yeah, upstream people, page, Keynote to Keynote, you know, like that, downstream, midstream, 7 days we were reviewing. And by the time we were done, we told each group, come up with your points that must go into the PIA. And then they came with their points. Somebody from Shell, somebody from Chevron, somebody from Owando, and all that. And then, alas, we came up with 7-point position which we presented to the government. We presented it to the Senate, we presented it to the House of Rep. And we just didn't go present it. After we finished presenting it, in America we have lobbyists. So there's nothing wrong in following up on what you have presented because you wanted to get into policy. So we had senators, we had House of Rep representatives, they were following up on all those things. And majority of them were adopted into the PIA. And one major one, thank you. And one major one was we highlighted the fact that if you look at the government parastatals, because if you really want to cause a change in a nation, you must talk from the top, bottom. You know, so we were focused on getting government attention first. So we did a research. As of that time, there was no single woman in DPR, as in top leadership. The same thing with NNPC. The first woman to get on NNPC board is our chairperson, and that was 1991. So I'm talking about 2021, 30 years after, no single woman. Now Now, which nation or if you're going for a battle, you go with just 50% of your soldier, how will you win now? You go with everything you have, but you strategize, position this one here and all that, left, right, and center. So over the years, over 60 years, Nigeria had been going to war. It's oil and gas resources war. We just half of the soldier, half of the people that should go and fight. So it is time. We've left them there alone. Let's help them. Now, we don't preach equality. You know, we have to also mix and match it with culture. But we preach diversity, we preach equity, and we preach inclusion. A bit of my background in the industry. I joined this industry in 1996 as a small girl. So if you're looking for a small girl, I was actually a very small girl then. And I remember my Oga used to call me Omoge Fry Pan. Yeah, whatever that means, but I know it's. She's not here. Oh, is she here? Okay. So she used to call me Omega Fry Pan, and I was just like, okay. And I follow her everywhere and all that as an intern and all that. National Oil and Chemical Marketing Company, which was like a downstream kind of arm of Shell. And then from there, I moved to Unipetrol. From Unipetrol rebranded and became Hoando. I stayed in Hoando for about 12 years thereabouts. Efutobi is actually my colleague, you know. And then from there, I got tired, you know, which is another area that we need to look at. We've done researches around all these things, middle age, and all that, you know, things that happen to women. I just take a decision. I just got tired. I wanted something different. I went into Wall Street. I started representing some Wall Street organization in facilitating energy deals across Africa. So I was helping them to look for money. But at one point, I just realized that it was like an Herculean task that wasn't getting an end because we're going around Africa and all that. But really, my discovery is that African nations weren't even prepared to actually close their energy gap. We don't want to do it. We leave it out to other people to come and help us do it. So in Nigeria, for instance, we explore, we produce, and then we just leave it, and then it's shipped to America. We don't want to do midstream. We don't want to do downstream. That's where the real money is. So I started talking to all the CEOs. I remember I went to my then CEO, DCEO's office, and I'm like, Mofe, why aren't you guys putting money in refining? They said, no, it's couple money. Before you wait and get the money, it's going to take a while and all that. I went in 3 years research, and I discovered that Nigeria as a nation had been leaving a lot of money on the floor, on the table. Do you know how much, as at then, a barrel of crude was just about $50 per barrel? By the time we did all the mathematics of all the different, by the way, I have a background in pure and applied mathematics. So mathematics, we are the mother, you know, it's mother of STEM. So if science, technology, we are the mother. By the time we did that analysis, we discovered that if you put paper to pen and calculate how much you get of all the different products from a barrel of crude is worth about $2,500. So what it means is Nigeria sells off a barrel of crude at $50, and then whoever we are selling to, by the time they refine it into rubber, I'm not going to go into the fuels now, by the time they refine it into rubber, petrochemical, bitumen. I worked with a bitumen company at one point. Every single drop of bitumen that is used in this nation is imported.
No, but Dr. Duni, that research is more relevant today than ever.
Thank you.
If you still have it, I would say rehash it, because I'm not sure what we are getting from our crude, but that's a story for another day.
Amazing.
I don't know what we are getting for it, but that's a story for another day. But what you've talked to us about is I don't think we do enough collaboration. If you sat on your own and looked after yourself, the women's organization you spearheaded, and by the way, I discovered there are about 6 or 7 in Lagos, Women's Network. I met them through the American Embassy. These things would not be happening. And sitting here and pushing the likes of NIES, thank you very much for that push, to have a forum like this on a strategic day would not happen. So please let's note the value of collaboration. I think Nigeria, African women, we need to collaborate a bit more. But quite honestly, that research is more relevant today than ever. I think now we are more enlightened. now people are ready to run forward with issues, and that research remains more relevant. But please let me crave your indulgence to hold it there. I'll run across to Mrs. Adesoa Dozie right at the other end. I think following from what you've said, Adesoa is at the top of the house in terms of her career, being, I think, the vice chair in Exxon, or vice president or vice chair, you'll tell us. But please, you have, if I say you are at the top of your career, I wouldn't be saying the wrong thing. So please talk to us from the diversity and inclusion we've talked about. What steps can companies take to create an inclusive workspace culture, the kind of inclusive culture that allows a woman to be in the position that you're in, one that encourages women to explore diverse career paths within this technical industry of ours, and one that allows them to seize leadership opportunities when they become available. Not leadership opportunities are available and it's in quotes that it's not for women. So please talk to us a bit on that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my co-panelists. I really want to start by thanking all of you for your patience and your time this evening. You have all shown a commitment to diversity and inclusion, and on behalf of my co-panelists, we sincerely appreciate it. My name is Adesoa Dozie. I'm the vice chairman of ExxonMobil companies in Nigeria, very much like Mrs. Akbane in a law firm, the leading law firm of Ajumogobi and Okeke. Very shortly thereafter, I had the opportunity to work for Total, and I was with Total for 3.5, almost 4 years, before I went to work for the Coca-Cola company, where I worked for almost a decade doing many things. I left Coca-Cola as the equivalent of general counsel for Eurasia and Africa. Thereafter, I joined General Electric in Lagos, Nigeria, initially to support the power business, but left General Electric as general counsel for Africa. I've been with ExxonMobil since 2019. So I have myself had a diverse career. I've worked in different industries. A lot of it has been curiosity, and some of what my co-panelists have spoken about today. But what I really want to talk about, and I think what the question is asking, is from the company side, what can companies do? As the first female to occupy this position, I'm acutely aware of a number of things. First of all, the responsibility and the fact that I'm the first, but I have a responsibility to ensure that I create a pathway for other women and I'm not the last. But I'm also acutely aware of the barriers, the unique barriers in our industry for women. I think globally, 18% or less than 25% of the workforce is female. In Nigeria, the data is even more stark. I think it's less than 20%. And when you look at leadership positions, I think only about 1% of global CEOs of oil and gas companies are female. And when you look at executive leadership, the data shows us that's about 17%. And the question is why? Why should companies care? I'm not going to look at this from the equity perspective, but really just bring in the fact that it's actually good for business and good for profitability. There's data by McKinsey that shows that diverse teams are more resilient, they are more productive, and they are more innovative. McKinsey data also shows us that companies that have diverse teams in their top quartile are 25% more likely to have above average profitability than companies in the bottom quartile. So it's good for business. And the question you asked is how? How can companies do this? I think some of what we're doing today, talking about it, but I really want to start with walking the talk and the tone from the top. If you look around the room, and this is a good start. This is a really, really good start, and I celebrate the organizers and Brevity Anderson and everyone. But really, we're in a room of women talking to women. we're a panel full of women talking about an issue for women. And I think that really has to change. We are leaders, and leaders, male and female, have a responsibility not just to endorse diversity, but to champion it. And with that, I'd really like to start by giving a round of applause, not just to the men who showed up today for this conversation, but to two leaders of our industry, Akachukwu Nwokedi and Shane Harris, my CEO, who have braved it. Because I think really that's what is important. We need to walk the talk. Companies also have to look at the reasons why recruitment and retention. Why are there challenges with recruitment and retention? And I think some of the challenges that we face specifically in Nigeria and across the African continent are unique to us. There are gender issues, but quite frankly, there are also issues regarding age discrimination. We have a unique set of challenges, and it behoves us as leaders to walk the talk and put policies in place to support that. We also have responsibilities to ensure that we are not just championing, but also making sure that we have meaningful career paths for women. And when we see people struggling, we are putting in place structures to support them. Things like the Women in Energy Network and what my other co-panelist was talking about, and certainly what we have in ExxonMobil, like the Women Winning Ladies Network, which is an affinity network that supports and promotes the retention and promotion of women, are critically important because they ensure that women can lead, thrive, and grow within the organization. So we are not where we used to be, but we are not where we should be. And it's not just about individual companies, it's not about ExxonMobil, it's not about NMPC, Britannia U, but each one of us as individuals and as leaders, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are creating workplaces where women can grow, thrive, and be promoted. We've talked about what the responsibility of women is, and it was really insightful listening to Mrs. Ifejik, insightful and inspiring, might I add, listening to not only Mrs. Ifejika's story, but the stories of all the other women. But the point is, the scales are tipped so largely in favor of men that companies have a responsibility and to create and put in place networks and frameworks to support women. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Scales are tipped in favor of men, but you made an encouraging statement. We are not where we used to be. We have the likes of you, we have the likes of Eloho, encouragement on the way, but we are not where we want to be. So I hope that we will be there someday, but well, we'll keep the dialogue going. I've been told that we have maybe just 15, 20 minutes more to go. So I'm afraid we will try and shrink everything in so we can get some questions. But please, Eloho, I'll end up with you to round up in terms of comments. But I'd like to speak to, like Mrs. Nkechi Obi. She has a fantastic story to tell, an entrepreneur to the core. So I'd like to ask you, please, Mrs. Nkechi Obi, as a successful entrepreneur in the energy industry, what challenges have you faced? I know you faced many. I've listened to you before. And what strategies have you employed to overcome them? How have you stayed the course? And each time one sees you with your lovely signature, low cut, you're looking nice and fresh. The stress doesn't show on your face. Please share some of the secrets. I don't know if you can wrap it all up in like 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me thank the organizers of the summit. I think this is the 7th edition. And
that 7th edition, I think we've been able to, Techno-Oil has been able to kind of sponsor this women empowerment here. And this is all about the commitment we have for women, and we believe that network is all part of our success story. For me, it is part of my success story, and that's why we would always continue to be part of this event and to see that women gain as much as possible, we network among ourselves. Yes, the question from the moderator says the challenges. Yes, I have said my story severally. I think, just like she said, she has listened to it. I don't think we have enough time here, and I'm not going to go into it. Most people here are all successful women that I know. My sister Uju here is a bulldozer. She's a bulldozer. She can bulldoze her way into getting what she wants. But for me, it doesn't work for me. You know, and that is her style, and it works very well. In fact, sometimes I have to get to her to say, look, this thing is just not working. Especially challenges as a woman. Because the way the men will go after their business, for me, is a problem. Because, yes, it's a problem for me. Because, so, and one of the things I have always seen is the values we have to look at. And when you have these positive values in you as a woman, because we are mothers, we must always continue to be a mother, and then the business will be there. We must be very aggressive, but the challenges will be there. Like, when you look at the business, especially when you look at the petroleum sector, you see our girls, they are all very brilliant, they come tops. Along the line, you see that the girls start going down. Basically, what's the cause? The culture, the mother, and it's not just about Nigeria anyway. It's just all over, and it's motherhood. But what can we do about it? There's basically nothing. That is God. But that does not mean that we still cannot excel in it. We can do that, and we're doing that. So when it comes to the challenges we have as a woman, I've looked. When it comes to the challenges, yes, you see, especially in my sector, where this business is all dominated by the men. They network in the night. Me, I'm not going to network in the night. There's just nothing, no way, you understand. In the midnight, they are all over the place. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to look at my own strategy, look at it very well, look at it, study it, and see how I can overcome that. And these are part of what we have used. Because for me, in Techno-Oil, it's all about closing gaps. I don't imitate businesses. I look at what is not there, and that's how I started Techno-Oil. Techno-Oil, my career started from Mobile Oil, that was the name. And there was a gap that was there. The company didn't want to go into it, and I decided that I have to close the gap. It's all about seeing the gap and closing the gap. That's our model. And today, we are in fuels, we are in lubricants, we are in gas. We have the cylinder, manufacturing the cylinder. That was a business that we needed to close up for the government because adoption of cooking gas was going to be very low. So we look at it, what can we do in that area? For me, it's not about profit. It's not all about profit. And that's just it. So all our models are built on closing the gaps. We look at lubricants, we have the blending plants. We look at the fuels depot at that point. The point where Techno-Oil started its business, these are where the IOCs were basically, maybe about 25 or 26 years ago. The IOCs were dominating these businesses. That's the so-called Shell, Total, and whatever. There are no indigenous companies. But then we have to start up something and look at what they are not doing. And their businesses at that point were focused on their safe IOCs. So what can we do is to start up something and deal with our own local people. So that's how our business started. So we all look at the basic things. You understand? What do I call it again? I don't know. So these are I don't want to, I think I must have gotten my 5 minutes so that.
No, but a very interesting 5 minutes. If you take nothing else away, our business model is built on closing a gap. Where there is a need, you will have customers. It's pure and simple. work on your own strategy. Do not look for somebody else's. If somebody else's strategy is networking at night, you find a way of networking during the day to get the same results. So please, Eloho, let me run to you very quickly. You represent a lot of what maybe a lot of young people here can relate to. So I'd just like to ask you a question on how you can share examples of effective allyship in the energy industry, how we can continue to promote technical achievements and stay ahead of industry trends. How can women remain in the core parts of the business? You have a family, you've run a business, you are in a business, but you've stayed the technical course. How can our ladies do that? Please speak to that. Maybe in talking about that, touch on, technical achievements, allyship, the whole, what got you here? I think you will touch on it as you do so. Again, in 5 minutes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Nkechubi. That was 5 minutes.
So let me see if I can do less than 5, hopefully.
Yes.
So good evening, everybody, and thank you for spending time with us today. We were worried at the beginning when we all gathered and there was no one in the crowd, and all of a sudden you all showed up.
Yeah.
So it just tells you how hungry we are to close the gap that we see today. So if I look at myself as an individual, what got me to where I am, I must tell you, is that disruptive capability thinking, disruptive capability mindset that got me to where I am today. I was ready to challenge the status quo. I was ready to embrace change. I was ready to take on challenging tasks. No was not an option. So with that in mind, I stayed focused at work. And part of staying focused, one of the things I quickly learned growing up in an oil company is I needed allies to survive. Imagine you're less than 1 year in a company, working with men that are old enough to be your father, and they have to teach you. I got in as a production engineer, working with technicians. And one of the things they said to me was, we will finish teaching you work and you will become our Oga. And I said to them, at least I will make you proud. Until today, they have that pride. They will tell you, now me teach our work. And I'm happy to say, yes, they taught me work. So I learned to build allyship very early. And that's what we must do to be able to close the gap. We can't close that gap alone. We can't change things alone. We've got to raise men that will go on that journey with us. And it actually starts from us women at home, how we raise our boys. It starts from there. As African women, to be honest, I think our mothers didn't do justice back then. The men, they were treated differently. But that has got to change. For those of us in this room, it has to change. We must treat our sons differently. And then when we treat the boys at home differently, they grow up to be young men, and before you know it, the narrative begins to change. And that's why I love what I see with the women organizations these days. And you said it. We've got to come together. I think we are too silo. We've got this silo mentality. It's about WIOG, it's about Wayne, it's about this, it's about that. We've got to come together to be able to close this gap. Take the men with us to be able to work together as one to close the gap that we see today. So how do we build technical competency? It starts from catching them young. STEM. We've got to go out to the schools to help educate our boys and our girls in school. When we give scholarship, a lot of companies here give scholarship. How many % goes to women, young girls? We've got to be deliberate about it. If we're not deliberate about it, I'm sorry, that funnel will not be full. And if you look at the young entrepreneurs today, Look at the startup. See the young girls there. Their brains are on fire. How do we encourage more girls in there? We've got to encourage entrepreneurship and startup to be able to embrace technology. For us in Nigeria, we've got to spend money on infrastructure. We don't have lights. How do we expect them to gain the competencies they need? Cost of living in Nigeria is high. The internet, thank God, internet these days is a lot more affordable than it was then. People are able to do a lot more these days, but how else can we further encourage people to embrace technical competency? We've got to work with the government. We've got to embrace emerging technology. Today we celebrate our banking sector. What did they do differently? Why can't all sectors do the same? So it comes with being very, very deliberate to close the gap that we see, the technical gap that we see today. And the onus is on you, it's on me, it's on every one of us here to help close that gap. And when we do, Africa will be a better place to live in.
Thank you very much. What a good way to land it, that we must close the gap, and when we do, Africa will be a better place, will be the better for it. You talked about disruptive capability mindset, ready to challenge the status quo. You need allies to survive. Women, let's stop talking to each other. Let's start talking to the men as well. We need to take them on this journey. We need to spend money on infrastructure. Instructive, what did the banking sector do to get it right? We need to learn from them and do the same thing. But one thing I can say is, as Mrs. Dozier said, we are not where we were. We are not where we want to be, but we are on a journey and we are moving in the right direction. And I'd like to encourage the companies here, please encourage STEM, sponsor those girls, be deliberate, go around the value chain, create opportunities for women in contracts, in procurement, in projects, whatever needs to be done. The woman who is in the energy sector today has value to bring on the table. There were some statistics, there is value that she brings. She will make a difference. So please give her a chance. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid we can't take any questions from the audience, but you've heard a lot. You've soaked in so much. If we were to take questions, we'll be here for another hour, but we have to leave this place now. So thank you very much. Okay.
It's on.
It's on, ma'am.
Okay, so we're talking about career building and everything. You must be able to do two things. Work balance. You must understand your first job starts at home. You'll be able to go to the kitchen, you cook, because you're the mirror to your children. If you don't cook, tomorrow your pikin marry, they take some from the husband's house. He say, that man, they wicked. In our own African way, for you to get to a man's heart, now food. Now food. So you must be able. I go to kitchen, I cook. I come back at times 10 p.m. and I go to the kitchen. The easiest thing for me to do is cook. But I'm the best cook. Now, the second thing, my sister here, the wife of Ren Oil, she will bear me witness because you don't chop my bitter leaf. Even my sister here, you don't book her own. But you will be able to do it. Your children will learn from you. We, the women, we are talking of men not giving us time. We are running a race. We want to be faster than the men. There's one thing that we are losing. Our parents, our mothers taught us. That is where we are today. We've lost it. We are not teaching our children. So all of us need to go back to basics. So after this meeting, you know, our conscience is the better. You know where you have not done well. You go back. Today, if you start today, it's still okay. Then another thing is networking. Some people, you come out in a function like this, they collect your card. Ah, Britain, are you? CEO, put them inside your bag. For you to build a network that is enduring, you must keep in touch. You don't wait until 5 years when your police arrest you, then you call Mrs. Ifejika. I don't know you. So you build that network. That is when, today, I can call anywhere in the world. One, not only network, but communication skill. Being able to appeal to people's conscience. Some will call, you don't know who I am. No. First of all, you ask the person, how are you, and everything. Okay, this is Mrs. Uju Ifejika. I'm calling you because this, be very, very polite and nice. Whatever your status is, you can be a president. The president is in the 4 walls of your home. A GMD, and this within the 4 walls of your office. And so you can't do anything without good network. That is what translates to partnership. So these are what are, but more importantly, your home, work balance.
Thank you. Mrs. Dozie, you want to make an intervention? Can you do that for me in 1 minute maximum? You wanted to say something?
I just really wanted to say that, or add, that when we talk about energy security in Africa, it goes to gender issues as well. Because women are the backbone of a lot of African societies. And if you have 600 million people around the continent who don't have access to electricity, it means you have a whole bunch of women who are fetching water, doing the different things, and they're not learning, they're not earning, and they're not participating in community decisions. In order to change the narrative, rebalance the gender inequality and the gender stereotypes, we need, it's an imperative that we have energy security, actually, which is the theme of this conference, so that, it's not really the job of women only to cook. Men can cook too. It's not only the job of women to look after children. Men can do that, and we can have real partners as opposed to looking after our children and our husbands, so that we can elevate and rebalance the narrative. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. What a nice way to wrap it up. So, Richmond, yeah. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Okay.
This one.
The Honorable Minister of Industry.
You know, say, the
Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Anite, is currently in Dubai. She was supposed to have spoken on this panel, but I will beg your indulgence to give me 2 minutes. We would listen to her representative, after which I will give you your plaques. You take your picture, you take your seat. Now, once she's done, Professor Gubil has a question for one of you. I will indulge her real quick. But for now, I'd like to invite real quick for 2 minutes, Mrs. Popola Esther Abimbola, Chief Industrial Officer at the Ministry. Please, that way, ma'am. Proceed that way. Yes, ma'am. Please give a round of applause. Thank you. There's a staircase here. This is your staircase. Forgive me. Yes. Please, ma'am, let's see if we can do this in around 20 seconds. Greatly appreciated. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I am Mrs. Popola Esther Abimbola from Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. I'm here to represent the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Anite, who is unavoidably absent. She would have loved to be here at this very special occasion, but asked me to represent her. And I have a speech to present on her behalf. The speech read thus: the goodwill message by the Honorable Minister, Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, at the Nigeria International Energy Summit 2024 Women in Energy Roundtable Experience Sharing Schedule to hold on 27th February 2004 at this very special venue. It is my special pleasure to be part of this year's Nigeria International Summit 2024, which is titled Women in Energy Roundtable Experience Sharing. I want to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me as great guest of honor and for this interest and commitment to diversity and the inclusion of women in the energy sector. I will also like to extend my warm regards to the distinguished women panelists in anticipation of your participation in the discussion which has already taken place already. Secondly, women participation and leadership in the energy sector is essential for fostering innovation and driving economic growth, as well as furthering social and political progress for all. However, the percentage of women that are in the sector, energy sector, is quite insignificant compared to other sectors like agro-allied, trade, health, education, etc. The gap in the sector is not unconnected with the educational, religious, and cultural biases towards females. This has ultimately affected the number of women in the energy sector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, government is aware of the cultural and educational biases that has affected women participation and skilled leadership position in favor of men, not just in the energy sector, but mostly in science-based careers. That is why the government has initiated some educational policies to encourage young college girls to enroll in science-related subjects. Among the efforts being made by the government is a 5-year adolescent girls initiative for learning and empowerment. Projects launched by the past administration. Another project that geared towards mainstreaming female gender leadership in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is STEM. Project of Nigeria and Tech Women, a US-based program. Objectively, these are steps to promote, not only promoting, to mentor and train young girls to help unlock their potentials and better position them to take on key leadership positions in all aspects of science-based careers and the energy sector. As you know, women are often the primary energy managers in households, and at the ministry, we are working to promote women's participation in the renewable energy industry and attendant value chain in line with United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7 on affordable and clean energy to ensure women gain economically and structurally from renewable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, promoting gender diversity and inclusion in the energy sector is not only a matter of social justice, but also a strategic imperative. Diverse teams bring different perspectives and experience, which can lead to better decision-making and improve productivity. I also will believe that creating mentorship programs and having role models can help women navigate challenges, build courage and boldness to take on the difficult and challenging world of the energy sector. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Madam, we'll have plaque for you as well, so if you give us a moment, let's quickly, Dr. Blessed and Akimio, let's present the plaques to our panelists. Let's begin with our moderator, Madam Ayona Fatai Williams. Thank you very much. Dr. Madam, yes, just sit on the chair over there. I'll call you to take one plaque. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Duni Owo. Can we present to Dr. Duni Owo? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Catherine Ujui Fechika. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Ifechika. Yeah, they're bringing your own. Thank you very much. And next, Mrs. Nkechubi, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Akweneye, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Lozier. Thank you very much. And then, thank you to Dr. Doris Anite, the minister represented. And then you will come back to the middle, to Engineer Eloho. I'll take family photo and we're done. Engineer Eloho. Professor, ma'am, you have a question for, okay, all right, thank you very much. No, madam, we're taking picture with you as well, so just hold on. We're taking picture with you as well. We're taking picture with you. We have that. Eminent ladies of the energy industry, can you please rise for a family photo? Dr. Enakime, you're going to be there with them for the picture? Yeah, they will take the buses to them and there. Let's take the picture. Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you so very much. We're going to the young professional session. The moderator and the panelists have assured me we're going to leave here at 6. We're going to leave here at 6:10. 6:10. So we're going over to the next and concluding panel. Thank you for your patience so far. We're leaving here at 6:10. Thank you to this panel. Thank you so very much. When they go to their seat, you give them. Photographers, do you have this picture? Thank you very much. Thank you. And there you have it. Give them one more applause as they take their seats. Please allow them to take their seats. Thank you very much. Let me quickly invite our panelists for this concluding session on the young professionals, digital transformation and sustainable energy solutions in the upstream and downstream sector. Photographers, please kindly go to the sides. I need space for my next panelists to come up on these ones to take their seats. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please allow them to take their seats. Journalists, please allow them to take their seats. Please. Panelists, kindly take your seats. Thank you, Dr. Duni. Please take your seats. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kweneye. Thank you so much. Please take your seats. Thank you. Can we allow Dr. Duni take her seat? Please, let them take their seats. Please. Thank you. You've been far too kind. Just cooperate with me. Let's finish this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's allow Madam Ifechika take her seat. Thank you. Let me welcome real quick Group Managing Director of West Africa for SLB, Mr. Sobs Ideria. He's on the panel. Please give him a round of applause. Joining him is the Country Manager Technip FMC, Mr. Tayo Akin Kumi. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Business Opportunity Manager for SPDC is here, Mrs. Ehimen Agunloye. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. Sumiki, which is it. Joining them is Deputy Managing Director of Nigeria LNG Limited, Mr. Olakunle Oshobu. Thank you very much. Warm welcome. Joining them is the Managing Director of GIL Automation Limited, Mr. Bolahon Lawa. Where's my usher? I need my handheld microphone now. Come. Where's my handheld? Get it back and give it to me now, real quick. take your seats. Please, can we allow this? See, the panel is seated already. Photographers, please, I beg you. Can we allow this, my eminent women, can we allow them take their seat, please? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also on the panel is virtually joining us Chief Executive Officer, Knowledge Incorporated Limited, Dr. Isaac Enakimio. And to moderate the panel for us, I'd like to welcome the senior lecturer at the University of Abuja, managing consultant at Clingsfield Environmental Services, Dr. Yetunde Aladeiton. Dr. Yetunde, you are welcome. Please give him a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. Please take your seat. Please, can we allow Madam Uju take her seat? Can we allow Madam Ayono take her seat? Thank you very much. Madam Kechi, please, let's allow her take her seat. Please, thank you. Allow them take their seats. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. Dr. Owo, thank you very much. To open this panel for us with brief remarks, I'd like to now welcome the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive of the Petroleum Technology Development Fund. Please, a warm welcome to Mr. Ahmed Galadima Aminu. Give me a round of applause. Okay, you're speaking over there. Thank you very much. Please, can we, okay, 1 second. Please, can we take our seat, please? Our panel and speakers are seated and standing at the same time. Can we please take our seats? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, please.
Distinguished invited panelists, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on existing protocol. Thank you for the kind invitation to speak at this crucial Nigeria International Energy Summit. This summit is one of the most significant events in the oil and gas sector of our country, as it provides the opportunity to showcase innovations and discuss issues affecting the oil and gas industry. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to give the opening speech at this Young Energy Professionals Forum session. The group of young professionals gathered here today represents our first true digital native generation. You belong to a generation that has never experienced a world without the internet or social media. You are a generation defined by artificial intelligence, blockchain, nanotechnology, and Internet of Things. A survey reveals that 40% of young individuals rather have working Wi-Fi than working bathrooms. As you may be aware, the PTDF is an organization created to address critical shortage of skilled manpower and promote technological advancement in the oil and gas sector. This means that young professionals in the oil and gas sector have been and will continue to be an important pillar of all our activities in developing the next generation of industry leaders and talent pool. At the PTDF, we have made concerted efforts to understand the current younger generation's thinking, values, learning styles, and career motivations. This session's theme, digital transformation and sustainable energy solutions in the upstream and downstream sectors, resonates profoundly with our objectives at the PTDF. We recognize the urgency of embracing digitalization and innovation within both the upstream and downstream sectors of our country's energy industry to foster a sustainable and resilient energy future. In the upstream sector, Digital technologies such as advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, and robotics are turning exploration, production, and reservoir management. These technologies enable more accurate reservoir characterization, optimize drilling operations, and enhance production efficiency, leading to cost reduction and improved safety. Similarly, in the downstream sector, digitalization plays a crucial role in enhancing operational efficiency, ensuring regulatory compliance, and meeting environmental sustainability goals. From refinery optimization to supply chain management, digital solutions offers opportunities for process optimization, predictive maintenance, and real-time monitoring to drive down operational costs and minimize environmental impact. However, the journey towards digital transformation and achieving sustainable solutions is not without challenges. We require investment in human capital, technology, infrastructure, data analytics capabilities, and most importantly, foster a culture of innovation and collaboration within the energy industry. At the heart of innovation lie solid foundations in science and mathematics. These disciplines provide the fundamental principles, tools necessary for generating new ideas, designing novel solutions, and advancing technology across the educational journey of our young teenagers at the secondary school levels, equipping them with the essential knowledge and skills required to thrive in the evolving landscape of future careers in the energy industry. Therefore, we are launching the STEM program sometime this year that can cover 1,000 schools at the pilot scale, 1 school per local government, and 1 beauty school and other special schools across the country. We also have established 2 centers of excellence, one in Port Harcourt and one in Kaduna, to enable us domesticate the training program is one of the best and most competitive in the country, targeting talented individuals who want to excel in the oil and gas sector. In collaboration with universities, strategic partners, industry leaders, and technology providers, we are nurturing an ecosystem where young researchers can explore innovative ideas and technologies. Let me close by highlighting the opportunities on the horizon. The Nigerian energy sector is in a
ES of PTDF talked about skilling individuals, you know, talking about the trainings and all that. A lot of times when people talk about digital transformation, all they think about is digitization, but it goes way beyond that. You know, we talk about skilling, reskilling, so that they'll meet up with the emerging technologies. He mentioned some digital tools like the IoTs, the AI, that's artificial intelligence, and also data analytics. So all this helps us to improve our operational efficiency, be it in the downstream or the upstream sector. So to beyond the digital transformation, we're going to marry it with energy. Most of our processes now are expected to be clean processes because we don't want to have problems with the changing climate, because we know that that's really a big problem that we have currently. To open with Himen, she's a business opportunity manager for SPDC. So I'd like to ask you, Himen, in your experience in SPDC, what are some challenges in renewable energy solutions in the Nigerian upstream sector? And how is SPDC addressing them through digital transformation?
No, thank you, and good evening, and thanks for everyone who's still here. And it's almost 6 p.m., so I applaud. We still have an audience, and I had to check to make sure I was the only lady when she said she was starting with ladies. Well, thanks, and again, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I think I have a few key to be here. I think I have a few key points to make. First of all, generally, as an energy industry, we're facing a lot of challenges. The first one I will say is there's going to be a lot of population growth, right? In Africa in itself, we're going to sort of host major population growth. And by 2050, I think the number is about 10 billion, right? And then if you think about it, I don't know how many of you feel like your neighborhood is getting kind of packed. Like everyone is moving to Lagos, So there's a lot of urbanization, what we call urbanization happening. And we can't kid ourselves. I think we in the energy industry are the people who are going to solve the whole urbanization problem. Not problem, but let me say opportunity. And then the last one I would like to talk about is the whole energy transition and climate change. No matter how we pretend, the traditional oil and gas industry is under a lot of pressure in power and a lot of energy transition, and have dialed back and have gone back and have dialed back. And I don't think it's only Shell. I think a lot of companies have found that they would invest and then they dial back and they invest and they just struggle. And the truth is you have to almost have 40% of your portfolio invested in energy transition before you can truly make it. So if you look across a lot of our portfolio, you find like someone like Shell, only about 25%. So a lot of the companies struggle because it's like, I want to do this, there's a lot of pressure, but I just can't get that portfolio balance to break even. Right? So if you think about it that way, right, I think the real game changer comes from the technology. I think until we start to apply technology in the right form and across the industry before we can really make that shift. And if we cannot make that shift, a lot of the companies, big companies like mine, and even the smaller companies would struggle to truly move through the energy transition. Now, let me just go specifically because I work for Shell, they pay my salary, so I need to tell you what Shell does. So more specifically, I think if I just round up, Shell, in particular, we do a lot of things when it comes, as I mentioned, we do a lot of things when it comes to the energy transition. There's a whole IoT. When we start from the subsurface, we go into project management, we go into how we, do our assets. I think if Ella was here, she will tell you about the Bonga Twin. So there's a whole host of technology that Shell has invested just to move the needle, right? We have a whole business unit that is invested in renewable. So we have the power, we have the money, we have the bandwidth, we have the customers to be able to do things. But I hope we get a chance to talk about not just Shell, but how the industry can collaborate to really make this leap change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One thing I always tell people that, round of applause. Yeah, collaborations, you can never overemphasize it. It's very important, it's very key. And you also talked about the technology being applied in every area so that we'll move forward. Quickly, because we really don't have time, we just have 40 minutes for this panel, I'll go to soaps. Soaps, I know SLB has done a lot in this space when it comes to digital transformation. So in your own opinion, how do you think this can enhance the efficiency and safety in the upstream operation, particularly in West Africa?
Thank you very much. And typically when you say SLB, we always start with trying to really explain who we are, because 2 years ago we were a company called Schlumberger. Everyone knows Schlumberger, but not many people know SLB. And our move from Schlumberger to SLB is moving from a leading oil and gas servicing company to evolve into a global technology company driving energy and innovation for a concept we call a balanced planet. And one thing I like to do when I'm talking about sustainable energy, I like to start with defining it from my own perspective. And here I usually have 5 components of it. It needs to be cleaner, it needs to be affordable, it needs to be reliable, it needs to be equitable. In our session earlier today, there was a lot of discussion around equity. And the 5th one, which we all see, it needs to be secure. So this is my own view of what balance means when you talk about sustainability and sustainable energy. Coming to your core question about technologies and areas where we can drive progress around sustainability. In SLB, we're looking at this in 4 buckets. The first bucket is driving everything around decarbonization initiatives. We can't run away from where we are as an industry and the impact of our industry on the environment. So the very first thing we're doing is
investing and deploying our innovative capabilities in decarbonizing industry currently as it is. So that's decarbonizing ourselves, the oil and gas industry, and even other industries. That's our primary focus. There are technologies there like CCUS, which is carbon capture, utilization, and storage, or other areas like methane monitoring and methane minimization, understanding that methane is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. So that's the first area that we're focused on. The second area is investing heavily in renewable energies, right? We have technologies like hydrogen, geothermal, energy storage, most of these areas that are very relevant to the renewable energy industry. We are investing heavily in this. The third part, which is a bit of a fuse of what we're discussing here, is bringing software technology to bear beyond hard technology, which is the digital aspect of it. We think that the application of digital in all forms, we've already heard AI, machine learning, remote ops, automation, connected platforms, in all aspects, digital has such a transformative impact and potential that for regions like ours in Nigeria and West Africa that have peculiarities, there's so much potential there. So we're investing heavily in digital, and we're providing multiple solutions on the digital front, which will come to bear within this industry and the world at large. And the last piece I'll just share so we can move on is, we've already talked about collaboration. I think that's the last piece. We're pretty focused on partnerships and collaboration in driving ourselves forward from a standpoint of sustainability and from a standpoint of digital. And I'll give you one example where we've partnered with the government, academia, and the industry to put forward a program which we call the N.I.E.S program. In SLB, we partnered with NCDMB and SLB ourselves. We went to 3 major universities, and we basically started a cohort program where we opened up our digital technologies to the brightest within the universities and asked them to build, using AI, machine learning, to build new plugins for Nigeria-specific market. And last year we just went past the first cohort, and since this also has a tilt towards the generation coming through, I think this piece on collaborating and making sure we're bringing through academia as our 4th pillar is extremely critical for us. So those 4 areas are just areas I wanted to share in which SLB is making strides in terms of driving a sustainable future in Nigeria and the world at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One thing I can take home, when you talked about sustainable energy, talking about clean, affordable, reliable, fantastic. And also you talked about what SLB is doing, collaboration between the industry, the academia, and I think the government. Right, that's a triple helix model, more or less. Okay, thank you so much. So quickly we'll go to Mr. Isaac. I think you should be online. Can you confirm? Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll look at it from a global perspective. So from a global perspective, what trends do you see emerging in the intersection of digital technology and sustainable energy solutions?
Well, thank you very much. Privileged to be here today. I'll just go, taking on from the last gentleman. I just want to pick up something about digital transformation and something you said earlier, that digital transformation goes beyond just technology to understanding the context that sits within it. So if you think about digital technology as the all-encompassing business model, people, process, technology, and all the different things that make up that, you then think about digital transformation from a point of key concepts or key context that you need to take into account. So things like purpose. Purpose is a strategic lever for anything that you do when it comes to digital technology. You think about the people you're dealing with, you talk about the different aspects of the operational processes, the stakeholders, the knowledge capital, so local knowledge, and then benefit realization. What exactly are we trying to benefit from that? And these are the key things that we begin to see as the conversations around digital transformation and the different industries, taking into account that sustainability is one of the key trends that runs across all industries in today's society. So when you think about trends that are coming up today, we've talked about smart grids, we've talked about IoTs, we've talked about robots as well. When you think about robots, when you look at it from a perspective of people, process, and technology, technology is primarily an enabler. I know we talk about technology as being a stimuli, but technology is an enabler. So you think about how virtual reality has come into play today. However, it is there when you talk about the twin technologies. Virtual reality does a lot of simulation and building. So it enables decision making, it enables reduction of waste, it enables efficiencies. So these are key things that we talk about. So when you look at the sustainable energy goals, they fall generally around environmental, social, and economic viability. Now, putting these things together, you are looking at innovation. It's a key driver to reducing waste, creating efficiencies in human capital. You look at the utilization of knowledge management, for example, when you think about the different stakeholders within the organization, people that come, people that go, there is a huge loss of knowledge capital, especially around digital nomads. When you take that into account, using technology in a sustainable environment means you take advantage of local knowledge while they are there to map out different oil grids. I was listening to the the women roundtable, and one of the ladies, I can't remember her name now, talked about drilling for the first time and not finding oil and losing about $23 million on that drill. But they went back to do some reprospecting, using technology, using confirmation, using information. They were able to say, okay, let's drill from another quadrant. And that's what technology does. It saves time. It creates efficiencies. It creates deliverables that we didn't have in mind when we started out in the first place. So when you put all that together, there is a key element around the trends that are coming today. So partnerships, we've talked about networking. Networking is absolutely beneficial. But from a global perspective, global networking becomes very viable, very achievable. Again, if there's anything that the pandemic did, as crazy and as nasty as it was, one of the key benefits is that it made the world smaller. It made us a global village. So with technology, there is a lot of collaboration that can be done just by the click of a button. After all, I'm joining this conference in Nigeria from the UK via technology, and we're talking about policies, we're talking about innovation. These are some of the key things that we see digital transformation doing. But I want to emphasize here that when you think about the use of technology in today's society, we need to think about it from a blue ocean perspective. Now, when you look at it from the point of the fact that when you put a master group together, the master group is made up of people from different industries who come together around a common goal with different perspectives, coming up with a blue ocean strategy or idea that enables or fosters innovation, that fosters creativity, that fosters growth. That's how we need to look at it from that point of view, taking into account that we need to ensure that the adoption of technology to realize benefits, to realize or to record new value as we begin to implement technology becomes very vital. Otherwise, technology is useless if it's not adopted. Technology is useless if we don't gain new value from it. It's useless if there is no advancement that comes out from it. So in a nutshell, I'll just wrap up to say that with the trends that we see globally, especially around sustainability, there are lots of conversations about bringing different mindsets around the room to have conversations, to collaborate, to ensure that technology, one, is accessible. We've talked about finance being made available. And again, the conversation about technology being the key game changer to moving sustainability and the energy forum forward becomes a key thing in how we create adoption, how we create strategies, but most especially how we carry our people along. RPA, so the whole robotics, what that will do, and the whole, what's it called? The artificial intelligence will reduce waste in terms of reducing manual outputs or repetitive actions. But thinking, innovation, you can't replace that. So we need to be able to carry our local knowledge with us. We need to be able to implement the technology that we have, but also be able to think outside the box to make sure that we can record new value that delivers results, that delivers benefits, but fulfills a specific purpose as the strategic lever for the adoption of technology in any way, shape, or form, in any industry, around any strategic outcome that we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac, for that very insightful contribution. Indeed, technology is useless if there's no advancement. Quickly, we'll go to Tayo. Tayo, in experience as a country manager of Technip FMC, can you share examples of your successful integration of digital technologies in the upstream processes in a bid to optimize production and minimize the environmental impact?
Thank you very much, Yetunde. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for staying back to listen to us. It means a lot to us. First off, talking about technology and digital transformation, one of the things I picked from the last session was that men now have to cook. So I didn't get that memo until lately, so I did a quick search, and it turns out there are lots of YouTube channels. So, soaps, we'll be all right. Oh, thank you. All right, no, I'm going to just key into what Dr. Isaac said, starting with that. The purpose of, technology is an enabler for digital transformation. Digital transformation, it's a buzzword that came to us in the early 2000s, but it's building on all kind of successes that we've had. Since human started using abacus, at some point we found transistors. At some point we decided to get integrated circuit, ICs. Then we stumbled on telephony and telephony system. And then World Wide Web, and at some point we decided, look, we can start using this for our business. We created software tools, and one of them was ERP. And then in parallel to that, we were creating all forms of really nice sensors, right? Soaps will agree with me that we have sensors. At least 5 years ago, we had sensors that could detect things, and the limitation was how to transmit that data. And beyond that, how to understand that data. And it's everywhere, from the reservoir to the workshop to what is going on in the thermal imaging at terminals and stuff. So digital transformation is a concept of saying, look, we have all these successes, we have all these technologies, we have this massive amount of data that we have to understand and use. Then we need to focus on how to use that for the benefit of optimizing our efficiencies. And bringing that to our industry, what does efficiency mean to the oil and gas? And I'll take the voice of my customers now. It's discovery. It's discovery time to first oil. It's OPEX in terms of cost savings on OPEX. It's OPEX in terms of uptime and availability of the system. So for us in Technip FMC, this is what drives our innovation. We have all sorts of data. We have all sorts of transmittable data. So we focused on and leverage, and soaps talk about space of applications that can talk to each other, even to the point of being autonomous. Right, so you gather all that data, and the next thing is, how do you use it? So with the standpoint of we need to help our customers go from from discovery to first oil as soon as possible, because the Wall Street is waiting, right? We decided to redo subsea, and we decided to go on what we call it SSI mantra, which is simplifying the subsea, standardizing it. And talking about standardization, I remember at some point in 2015, someone told me that there are over 200 specs of yellow color paint, 250 something different specs, which means if customer A wants a yellow subsea structure, you have to get one of those 256, and if you miss it, you're gonna have to redo it. So we went overboard. And the idea now is let's standardize this. Let's not make every engineer that comes out of college create his own spec and everybody has to stick with it. And the last part is industrialization. In other words, how do we improve our processes to industrialize the process of creating that value for our customers? Beyond that, on the OPEX side, so if you imagine that you have a system, you have an operation, a plant, where you do have thermal imaging systems and capability. You have methane. You talk about the soaps just why methane monitoring system. You have operation efficiency systems. The whole idea then is, why don't we bring all of that together? So you have a system that automatically adjusts valves. You have a system that is constantly looking at the valve, each valve that's operating on the field, and comparing what we call the valve signature. In other words, the pressure and the time it takes that valve to go from start of travel, end of travel, and plot what is expected, an expected path, right? So you can look at every valve, and every time the valve operates, you compare how it performed to how it was supposed to perform or how it's been performing. And then you can warn the folks at the operating center, the monitoring system center about the potential failure of a valve. And in doing that, as an example, you're able to go from a response-based or risk-based maintenance system, you can do a condition-based maintenance system. So all of this put together, we have it in a suite of software that, depending on what your plant does, depending on what you need from your plant, we can make systems work together. Now, there are challenges to it, obviously. Customers have a lot of data that they don't want to share, and it's understandable because that's IP, all right? And we have a long way to go. But the good thing, again, it comes back to the technology enabler that we talked about. Blockchain technology, the same one that powers the cryptocurrencies, can actually manage our data and secure our data. Again, this is where we're taking tools and using it for digital transformation. So ultimately, we focus on delivering what our customers need. We focus on leveraging existing, and in some cases we have to create new ways, new technologies, new sensors, or make them reconfigured to how they're going to be used. But our focus being taking people out of the red zone, keeping them safe, making sure the system is up and always running, have predictive maintenance system that allows the customers to plan their maintenance program in such a way that it does not disrupt their uptime. And more importantly, ensuring that we simplify the system to where it can be secured and we can leverage tools that are available. I think that's about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think one thing I could really get from what you were saying, you talked about using data available to optimize efficiency. That's very key and very important. So quickly we'll go to Kunle. And this question, we know this is a youth forum, and we can't have this session without talking about talent development and also training, because it's key for the young professionals. constant training for them. So how important is talent development and training in ensuring the successful implementation of digital transformation initiatives within the LNG industry?
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the technology talks. Okay. I'll start with a bit of statistics. It's been judged by World Health Organization that the population of Nigeria by 2050 will be almost 500 million. That would make Nigeria the third largest populated country in the world after India and China. That's good news, by the way, because we have the area to take the mass. The second thing is we have a huge youth bulge. For those who don't know what a youth bulge is, it means we have over 65% of our population being between the ages of 10 and 35. So we're a very viral country, and that's a very good thing. And if you're just thinking about it, that was one of the reasons the COVID incursion was not as lethal as everybody thought it would be in Nigeria and maybe a lot of the African countries. Now, having said that, it means we have a burden of very viral young men and women that we need to engage. They need to be trained, they need to be upskilled. So we start to think of human capital development. How fast can we do this? The first thing is, you can't build the institutions as fast as the children are being churned out. So when you have a huge gap of, I can't remember what the statistics in Nigeria now says, we have over 2 million out of school children, something around that number. Now, the challenge is, even if we say we want to put them in a classroom, where is the classroom? The DG of JAMB will tell you today that they have over almost 10 million people that write JAMB every year, and if everybody passes, they can only accommodate maybe a fraction of them. So we don't even have enough universities. And that is where technology comes in. Technology comes in because now you can sit in your classroom and get a degree. Talking about how do we use technology for the youths. So it's all about digital transformation. It's all about networking. It's all about connectivity. And this became rife during COVID when we had to sit at home. So for a company like NLNG, the COVID scourge was not, I won't say wasn't, we didn't feel it, but it wasn't as impactful as it was everywhere else, because there was nothing we wanted to do that we were not able to do, because we had put in technology that allowed our staff to remain in their homes and continue to be productive and do their work even more than they did in their offices when they were allowed to come in. And that was so successful that even post-COVID, people still work from home. So you're allowed within a year to walk out of the office for over 100 days. It's not legal, right? Now, secondly, we have a plant operation, and I'll also tell you the good news about my company. Nigeria is noted for crude oil, so it's all about crude oil. Now we're talking decarbonization, we're talking fossil fuel not being popular. So a ready-made alternative is gas. Gas is where we sit. Now, for those of us who still do not know, Nigeria originally is a gas country. We have more gas than crude oil. We found gas and fortunately found crude oil along with the gas. And crude oil was black gold. And that's why we started mining the crude oil. Now that we're thinking decarbonization, we're thinking cleaner energy, now we're back to base. Coming back to gas is home for us. So what are we saying? How can we use technology to better produce gas? So where do we sit today? We take gas from the IOCs, compress it, and sell. We're able to take propane out, take butane out, which are also cleaner than fossil fuel, and sell to the Nigerian market. What does this do? It also helps to fill that gap for domestic consumption in homes. And that's 100% of what we produce today is consumed within the system. What do we also use technology for in our plants? We have digital twin technology. Digital twin is able to simulate ordinarily what an engineer does in a plant. Right. Now, to mature a plant operations man from inception to being an independent plant operator takes about 2 years. With digital twin technology, you're typically able to do that within months. And I'm saying months, 3-6 months. Right. This is what would have taken you nothing less than 2 years, 24 months. So technology is able to help fast track and simulate for the young man what he needs to learn in 2 years, in months. Right. Now, what else do we do with our technology? We have for the plants what you call smart helmets. Right. What this does is it allows the OEMs, who typically don't sit within our space, to communicate with our engineers and work with them in activities they either will need assistance on without having to wait for days. So what does that do for us? It improves our production, it improves our efficiency, and also in a safe manner. And we have a zero tolerance within our companies. Zero tolerance for safety mishaps. So we work in a safe, clean, and efficient environment using our technologies. What do we also use? Artificial intelligence. And I tell you, for everybody in this room that has a smartphone, and I know we all have a smartphone, your smartphone is an AI device. Very few people use up to 10% of the functionalities in your smartphone. I bet a lot of people cannot imagine what that smartphone can do for them today. That phone can see into your house, into your room, and listen to conversations you can never imagine it's able to, if you know what to do with it. And those are the things that will fast-track education for the young ones. And I tell you, those young ones know these things I'm talking about more than a lot of us, the older ones. So what are we doing with the young ones is bringing technology to their fingertips. And that's why you see a lot of not so school educated young men on the internet, on social media, being able to be productive and make so much money by just putting out contents that people watch, getting followers, getting views, and so many things to make money from. So if you're thinking, what should we be doing with this youth bulge? What should we be doing with the youths? It is to bring them into the digital space. teach them coding, talk to them about the tools they have in their hands. Let them be creative. Now, a lot of people talk about AI, robotics, and technology taking jobs. The technologies will still require human intelligence. It will require human creativity. The difference is we will be able to do more. So today in NLNG, we're smart working and not hard working. We work smartly and we produce more. We work efficiently and we work safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very key. Working smart, not necessarily working harder. Many a times when people talk about the population of Nigeria, it's usually in a negative regards. So this is one of a few cases where I see that we have able-bodied young people. And really, even when we don't have universities that can contain them, they could actually study online, learn various skills, and we see what is happening around us. Thank you so much. We really don't have time, so quickly we'll go to Bola home. The question is, how can that's SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises in Nigeria, leverage digital technologies to compete effectively in the energy sector? 2 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. And I'll try to even finish before the time because we all want to go home. I just want to, first as an SME or as a small business, a lot of our colleagues here have talked about, the technologies available to do, to deploy, the problems we have, the challenges we have in the industry. So we all know the problem. We all know cloud computing and AI and all of that. But here's the perspective I want you all to kind of go home with, which is that as a small business in the energy industry, you should know that the energy industry is a very, very conservative industry. I mean, as early as maybe 10, 15 years ago when I was still maybe hopping jackets, deploying technologies in the oil field, you would find out that, there were even very few areas where you had GSM network, whereas GSM network has been a proven technology over and over again. Even as early as 2 years ago, I went for a meeting a commissioning meeting on an FPSO in Nigeria, and the internet is only even allowed in some part of the building because of cybersecurity and all of that. I'm sure most of you, if you get into a hotel today and you don't have internet, you may also almost cancel your reservation. So we're in a very conservative industry. That's one. Two is that this is a very knowledge-driven industry. So that means, my colleague from NLNG mentioned, the age, in the past, it will take you 2 years just to build an operator. Now imagine critical equipment, like a rotating equipment or a subsea control that an operator is currently working on, is built over experience. So you can't even have no experience and jump to the oil field immediately. So having put all of that in place, now we're talking about digitization, the role AI will play. We're talking about the new generation that are AI native. Is that not going to be a rude shock if you throw them in the oil field? Because you're throwing them, these people never had to write a physical letter. They've all done, my daughter would use my phone better than I can. There are games here that I don't even know exist, and so on and so forth. And these people eventually are the ones that are going to run the oil field of the future. So my take on this would be that, there has to be a very smooth handshake. First from fit for use training for all our people as we get into the oil industry, as we introduce all of this technology. Many are technologies that we've deployed in the past that eventually when we come back 1 or 2 years and we say there's an upgrade, the customer would say, the operators say the unit is not working. From automatic tank gauging system to well-led SCADA system to having robotics to do part of, even robotics used in tank cleaning. If not for, management directive in some of the operators, it was difficult. Drone today is still being seen, is being seen more from the view of the disadvantages they have in some part of operations. OTS and digital twin, in some cases, some operators push back on it, on implementation or using it for management of change because of, that adaptation and all of that. So the first thing I would say is that training on man-machine interfacing is very, very important as we go ahead and deploy. Otherwise, we go into places where, in theory or in every other country, this technology drops your operating expenses by 30%. But in Nigeria, it does nothing. Why? Because the people, the environment, the access, and then the support system you have. That's the first thing. The second thing you look at, or that I've seen, as an indigenous automation company deploying digitization, is that there's also a big play for deploying fit-for-purpose solution. I mean, some places where let me give you an example. 14 years ago, we went to deploy a well-head SCADA system. Everybody knows well-head SCADA is a no-brainer, it's a cost saver. If you deploy technology that measures your production on each of the stream or on the wellhead, it gives you immediate value over time. If that is in a shallow field where you go by helicopter, just one helicopter ride, the cost of deploying the technology is already saved for eternity, right? So it's a no-brainer. Everybody should have it. There are, 8,000, 10,000 wells. But here's the catch. When we deployed in the past, maybe like 14 years ago, and we said, this is going to stand on its low-power technology, it's going to work on sleep and wake-up technology, and then it's just going to need a small solar panel footprint. We deployed it, we commissioned it, it started giving data. We can see wellhead data and all of that. 2 weeks later, the whole well was stripped because to a fisherman paddling on that solar panel was way more important than while trying to harvest that solar panel, it brought down the whole wellhead. So eventually, if you're explaining to an operator that, look, this technology saves time, saves money, it's been deployed across in Gulf of Mexico, is going to say, you know what? I don't want to lose production while trying to solve a problem. So when you deploy technology, especially in Nigeria, from my experience as local system integrator, fit-for-purpose technology works more. Second thing is, even for example, battery life. Some of these systems are designed for climes where the humidity is not as much as what you have in Nigeria. So you see on data sheet or on spec that the battery life of a particular solution or the baud rate for transmitting signal is X factor. But this has been proven everywhere else. But if you bring it to the creeks of Niger Delta, you find out that it's a whole different characteristics. So as we go out to deploy, whether as a small operator trying to use cloud computing or AI as a differentiator, or as a big system trying to use digitization to solve the aging of your operators or to even lower the cost of production and so on and so forth, you need to have in mind that Nigeria is a very, very unique environment. The same concerns that affect deployment of infrastructure on the non-oil and gas industry affects what happens in the oil industry. Solar panel to a fisherman is a device that helps him to charge his phone, which is tied to survival because he has to speak with his kid. To you, it is the least of, if they gave you the option to say, we want to take the solar panel, you would have donated a whole truckload of solar panels to them just to keep your wellhead producing. So if we have that in mind, that technology works everywhere, but how it is deployed in Nigeria is as important as what is being deployed. That's the first thing. 2, you need to get your operators or your technicians or your engineers ready and fit for the future because that future is coming. There will be new operators that will see it as being burdensome to go and manually open a valve. They are coming. They are already in their, the disease now, where their attention span is so small. You're telling them, wait on a mobile radio and go ahead, or, it's just going to say, I cannot manually turn this thing when there's already a digital technology because this is what they're used to. They're used to the gates opening up by itself. They're used to, automated driving vehicles. They're used to solar, to Tesla and so on and so forth. They are the people that will run your oil field in the future. So start your man-machine interfacing now. I'll be available to provide, as much insights, but from our own local deployment, I feel that, technology is always good. We can talk about capturing subsea data, using it for fracking. It's always at the point of implementation that the boys are separated in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's very key for us to train our staff. Training is very key before technology deployment, just like the example you gave, where the man brought down the whole system because of ignorance. Thank you so much. So I think I wanted the panelists to have a minute each to share their final thoughts, but since we've taken too much time and people need to go back and get prepared for the gala night. So at this point, I'd like to draw the curtain on this panel session. And I also like to thank our esteemed panelists for all their insightful contribution. Thank you very much. And please, I want the conversation to go beyond this room. It shouldn't stop here. Let's keep trying to digitally transform and make sure that we keep a sustainable energy future. Thank you so much.
Give you your plaques. I'd like to invite the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive of PTDF. Sir, please, if you can help me present plaques to our panelists. You know you're my person, Engineer Gulu, you're my person. Thank you very much. Mr. Akachukwu, sir, you present this one to me. It is to Mr. Galadima himself. Please do me the honor. That's all the speaker of the panel. Very much. Please give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, for photograph. PNG, you have to be in the photograph now. Please, for photograph. Thank you very much. For photograph. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't worry, I'll get you on to you. I'll get you on to you. I'll catch the next flight. I'll catch the next flight, I'll catch the next flight and bring you on to you. Expect me in London shortly. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. How have you been? Okay, there you have it. Let's meet again at the Presidential Villas Banquet Hall this evening. Whoa, thank you to those of you who stayed till this time. I'll see you at the villa. Because of the time we're finishing, please let's meet at the villa at 7:30. I promise you the dinner will be short. We're not waiting for anybody. Once you are in the room, you are the VVIP I'm waiting for. Once you are in the room, I start the dinner and it's going to be straight to the point and short. Enjoy what is left of the short time between now and the dinner. And see you at the dinner for more networking and a bit of partying after the awards. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Oh, there is a lost and found key. I don't know if it's a car key or a house key, but it's inside the key, a car key remote. If you are missing a house key that looks like a car key, please talk to me or any one of the ushers and we'll get it to you. Thank you.